back, everyone, to a brand new Getting Color right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. I know we've been gone for a couple weeks, but we are back. Virtue in the house with the man himself, Big Vito LaGrasso. What's up?
How is everybody out there? Sorry for the hiatus. Miss Noel has not been well, and I have been taking care of her. We had to do, some Noel maintenance. We'll call it Noel maintenance. She's just having a tough time, guys, but we appreciate the well wishes, and hopefully we'll be able to get back on track. She's just having a real tough time. So anybody out there, shoot us some encouraging words on Twitter, on Facebook, make some comments, subscribe to the brand. We greatly appreciate it. We're doing our best to get back on track. Mr. Virtue, we have had a lot of wrestling going on. Yeah. I don't know which company you'd like to start off with today, but there's a lot of news. And there was a video of a domestic. Did you watch that?
No. What was it about?
It was about a gentleman who got arrested from AEW. His name was Mr. Atlas. And evidently he had a lover's quarrel.
Oh, okay. I saw about that, but I don't know the details.
I read it. It was in the New York Post. So I read the description of what happened. They had a three-way. It was the gentlemen are partners, and they brought a female into the mix. The one partner, not Mr. Atlas, but the boyfriend, was paying more attention to the female. And from what was told in the New York Post, this is quoted, he got upset because he paid attention to the female, ripped his shirt, scratched him. And then there was a video of the arrest from TMZ. It got released. And the gentleman had said that he's an international wrestling superstar. He's traveled around the world. Then he brought up the fact he was Mexican. Then he brought up the fact that he's trying to protect himself. Then he brought up a whole bunch of other stuff and they arrested him. I think that if he didn't go on and on and on, I think it could have been squashed and it could have been okay. But I think the officers heard enough. And it's just sad because I hate to see, Virtue, like we're over here, we don't scrutinize nobody. We love each other, everybody. It doesn't matter what your gender is, what you're doing. You just hate to see controversy like that. And you hate to see people quarrel. And then when it gets in the news, if you have a little bit of star status, it gets a little bit upsetting because there's ways to handle it, ways not to handle it. Your private life is your private life. Don't say nothing. Don't say who you are, what you're doing, especially since they videotape everything all day. You don't know what can happen. But that was the big news today. But there was a lot of other little things going on in the wrestling world. So go ahead.
The first thing I need your opinion on here and your thoughts, because I found this very interesting. Obviously, the Vince McMahon regime is being dismantled.
Right.
In terms of backstage, the Triple H era is slowly taking place. And Jeff Jarrett is now gone from an executive role in WWE.
Yes.
Just recently did that last match with Ric Flair. And Road Dogg is back, who's one of Triple H's boys who worked with the NXT crew. And so you kind of see the pieces getting moved around on the chessboard, Vito. What's your thoughts on that news today?
Okay. First off, when you work for WWE, especially in an executive position, you are supposed to give your world, your life. You are 100% WWE. There is no room, rhyme, or reason for you to go out and venture out and do independent wrestling. You're making a handsome salary. You have a wonderful position. I believe he was on the night before in Survivor Series.
SummerSlam. He was the referee, and he was doing some backstage stuff on the Raw and SmackDown. So like he was being used on TV.
He was being used on TV. He looked great. He was doing all the stuff as an executive for the WWE to make money. He stepped out of the box. Now, I know Jeff Jarrett personally. I don't criticize him for nothing. He's his own man. He's his own thing. But the WWE world, it's either you are all with us or you're all with nothing. You don't venture out of this circle. He did that thing with Ric Flair with the last match, right? And
Mhm.
I'm saying this, it was a good old fashioned Memphis wrestling angle. You get heat on the babyface, you leave him laying, you come back, you have the match. That's what they do. They make it personal. That's why people gain the interest. I was a fan of it because I seen Jerry Lawler, I seen Crockett, and I seen Mr. Jarrett, the senior, right?
Yep.
So there's the three legends of Memphis wrestling all in one group. They brought back the old set. They had the old announcers. They had everybody in place, right? That's how wrestling was done, wrestling 101. So Jeff Jarrett was a part of this along with Karen Angle or Karen Jarrett, right? And he was a part of the AEW crew. Now, when you're working with the rival promotion, big no even from the days back when Vince was in charge, when like you were WWE all the way. There was no other company in the world. You worked there.
Yeah, because Andrade and Jay Lethal
Yes.
are in the AEW bubble and we're in that match.
Yes, sir. So, being that as grand an event as it was and as prestigious at all the accomplished wrestlers in that match, you still WWE doesn't mix with AEW. WWE doesn't mix with any other promotions. My take on it is wrestling great angle 101, and then it was wrestling bullshit 101. Hey, yeah, go ahead, go do your thing. If you really want to do it and you really want to branch out, go ahead. That's my take on it. And that's what
Now,
I know. Go ahead.
interesting. I need to throw this out there. Unless he was ribbing the internet, Road Dogg was publicly trying to get a job with AEW and kind of was bashing him when he wasn't getting a return phone call.
Right.
And they accept him back in WWE just like that. No, yes, he's a Triple H boy, right? I guess it doesn't really matter but it's just interesting. Jarrett's not in that clique. He did the thing right with Ric Flair and working with some of the AEW wrestlers. Now he's all of a sudden gone, and I don't think he had that spot. He was like VP of live events or something like that. Jarrett did not have that spot that long. It was only earlier this year he was put into that spot.
Jeff Jarrett was given a very prestigious job in the WWE, which he knew how to handle because of his years in Memphis wrestling, wrestling with TNA, knew how to do his job to the best of his ability to produce money for the WWE, right?
Yeah.
Now, I could tell you Jeff Jarrett was inspired in that match. Jeff Jarrett looked good in that match. Jeff Jarrett still has that fire to be a wrestler. He has unfinished business. My take, my views. And he is a friend of mine. We go way back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So I have nothing bad to say about him.
And he could pop up in Impact, NWA.
No, I honestly think he's a happy man today because he's going to go back to wrestling.
And where do you think Jarrett's going to wrestle? Just the Indies?
He's going to go right to AEW.
Oh.
And I could see him being an influential superstar on this brand. Who doesn't want to watch Jeff Jarrett, old Double J? He was a hit in when I was there at WCW. He was a hit at Impact. I think he's going to do good if he goes back there to AEW to get a fresh start. And here's the kicker. I'm saying it now. Ric Flair will be his manager.
Ooh. There you go. In AEW.
In AEW, right? Now, with Road Dogg, I have no bad vibes with Road Dogg. He volleyed to get and rallied to get a job in AEW. Everybody knows he's Triple H's boy. He's part of that clique, right? But a job is a job, and you're trying to support your family, and you do anything you can to support your family. Kudos uh, to Road Dogg, Jesse James for getting a job. Now, could it be that AEW was afraid that he was a spy, a hired gun to go into AEW to find out all the little nicks and crannies of what's going on? Could be.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he wasn't qualified for the job. It wasn't like Billy Gunn wasn't there. Some of the other people weren't there who rallied to get him in there. I just think that maybe they were skeptical to give him a job because he would report back to Triple H because that's his boy. That's a good scenario, and it's not being shameful.
Yeah.
Common
now,
sense.
Speaking of AEW, boy, does it. So Cody left.
Right.
Boy, does it seem like there's like some turmoil going on behind the scenes with some certain talents there. Now, Vito, you hear these reports, and I always take them with a grain of salt. When Dirt Sheets report there's this going on and this is a shoot, but I don't know if you've seen it, but several weeks ago, a few months ago, actually, before CM Punk got hurt, Adam Page cut a promo against him going into their match where Punk went over him.
I was up on everything. Go ahead.
For the title, and then Punk just last week or 2 weeks ago now, whenever it was, cut a promo about Adam Page before he cut his promo about Moxley and called him out, and no Page came out. And it was allegedly a receipt from Page's shots that he took to CM Punk. So what is your assessment here? Are we being worked for a future match and feud against these guys? Or is this unprofessionalism coming out right by the big stars of AEW right in front of the camera?
Okay. Do you remember the feud that CM Punk had with Triple H?
Yes.
And he did not like Johnny Ace. And he did not like Vince McMahon, right?
Yeah.
So when you have that kind of propaganda, people are going to watch, right? Were there some shots fired? Was there some realism in what was said? Absolutely. I'm talking about the CM Punk WWE run. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
that's what made it compelling.
Yeah. Right. That's what made it compelling. And Triple H said some stuff. Hey, if you don't want to be here and you held us up for money, and the only place the pipe bomb is effective is on the grand stage at the WWE, right? Now, CM Punk is doing his best to promote and do his job in the AEW. Is it the grand stage of the WWE? It is not. Okay? But they have a good viewing. They have 1 million people. Let's just say 1 million. So everybody drops. Let's say 1 million. They got 1 million viewers, right? So 1 million people like their product, which is great. Is it 2 or 3 or 4 million? It's not those days no more. So if you get somebody to watch it, if it's 1 million people, you're doing good. The stuff with Adam Page, right? Yep. Adam Cage, right?
Page, yeah.
Cage. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Cage. I didn't mean that. No disrespect. Is there some shots going back and forth? Could be. Now, there are other stuff to say that Adam doesn't like to take the advice of veterans. And the way you make it in the business is take the advice of veterans, pick their brain, and then use that knowledge to enhance your career. So from what you read and what's told, some guys don't like to take it and they say, that's the old way, fuck the old guys, and they take a shit, right? On the other hand, you have Jon Moxley. Now, Jon Moxley is one of a kind, okay? He's zany, he's funny, he's crazy, he's doing everything out of the box, right? I think the video I seen over the last 2 weeks is when he kissed a gay wrestler and he made out with him on Twitter.
There was a lot going on. That was a Game Changer wrestling promotion.
Game Changer.
A lot of weird stuff happened.
A lot of weird stuff, right? But there you see it, right? You see all the stuff.
Yeah.
Then he does a lot of hardcore stuff where it's blood and guts, and he does crazy stuff. No problem. You know what I mean? It's your life, your career. Do what you want. You're making people watch. And then now this Jon Moxley has an issue with CM Punk. So CM Punk is giving the rub to Cage, giving the rub to Moxley. Not that he needs it, but now we have two interesting angles. Could we see a three-way match for the title? My take. What are your thoughts?
It's weird because they've dove into this realm of, if there is animosity backstage,
Right.
let's put it out in front of the camera and fool the dirt sheets like the MJF stuff. So if there was anything going on with Hangman and Punk, I'm almost wondering how much, and do I even give Tony Khan this much credit for saying, let's put this out there and make it look like we really have problems and get people to watch because they think they're going to see a train wreck. So I just wonder if these wrestlers do have beef, if there is all this turmoil, like allegedly back in the day in WCW where the egos got so many, or if this is just something that's being crafted by these wrestlers, working the fans, knowing they're going to fall for this dirt sheet gossip. I don't know what to believe. Because the whole MJF stuff, in my mind, I've told you this, it screams work to me. Maybe elements that it was a shoot all turned into a work to fool the fans that he's disgruntled, he's leaving. I think it could be parlaying over to CM Punk and Adam Page now, Hangman. Because like Tony Khan's getting all crafty. Hey, I'm going to fool everybody.
I don't think he's got.
Is he that smart? I don't know.
I don't think he's got that kind of knowledge to be that crafty and that shifty and like to that stuff yet. But on another note, there was another two wrestlers who had beef, and that came out in the public. And I read it, and it was Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho. And Eddie Kingston said, I had the most horrible 7 months of my life working with Chris Jericho. He was very difficult to work with, right?
I saw that just before we came on.
Right, we saw that. Okay, so you're reading that. Now, Chris Jericho just came out with something, said, I'm not going to wrestle to embarrass myself, which is very good. But Chris Jericho also is developing talent to where he's giving the rub to now the five first guys he worked with. Now he's doing the next five guys he's worked with and everybody he's wrestled in between to give them some relevance, give them some rub to be in the ring with Chris Jericho. So now you have this beat. Now, do they extend their feud with Eddie Kingston and Chris Jericho? I think it's over, but then you have the leftover verbiage going back and forth. A lot of people knock Eddie Kingston for his physique, for his wrestling, for this and for that. And that is the job of the fans to critique and do everything. But what thing is perfectly secure? He has a job in a major company and he's doing it.
I felt those comments by him, because I read that, were very, very in character. Like, I didn't feel he was shooting necessarily. I feel that he was, because he was feuding with Jericho.
Right.
He was trying to kayfabe and make it sound like, I didn't like Jericho. You know what I mean? Like, but
no, I totally get
it. Like weaving the web to where he was like trying to make like the smart fans think he was shooting. I don't know. It's just like, I feel like these guys are trying to get too clever and really blur these lines because they know the fans read the dirt sheets, know the gossip, and are so smart to the business. I don't know what they're feeding into. I don't know if they're trying to fool them or they're just trying to say, we'll just tell them the truth.
Well, I got to say, Eddie Kingston, from what his career is, and by the way, guys, make sure you subscribe to the brand, subscribe to us here. Mr. Noel will put it up in the chat so you could look it up. The one thing I've noticed about Eddie Kingston, right? He speaks from the heart. He talks from the truth. He doesn't mince his words.
Yeah.
Okay? So when he sees people fat shaming him on Twitter, he defends himself. When he sees they shit on his wrestling, he defends himself. In his promos, he comes out and he defends himself, right? Which is good. I mean, you speak in your mind and you speak in the truth. There's no mess up. There's no mincing words in your promo. Once you say it and you're a shooter, you can't be what's the word I'm looking for? Misinterpreted, right? There's no indirect underlining. There's no mistake in what you said. You said it. Here it is. We're going to do it, right? So I just think that I know they say there's a lot more confusion, a lot more chaos in the back of AEW, especially with some of the women that are going on in the women's division, right? And everybody blows up the women. They say, "Oh, the women suck. The women this. There's not enough women matches." They say there's not enough black wrestlers. There's not enough white wrestlers. There's not any international wrestlers. Everybody's got a room to bitch. The other thing I saw today was the FTW title. Is it worth having any more? Now, didn't Taz have the title? Taz was a representation of the FTW world title, which Taz brought in. Is it relevant? I think it's relevant if Taz is involved. If Taz is not involved, pull the strap back.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, I mean, you got to remember they still have their titles they need to get over. Wardlow is the TNT champion, which is kind of like your Intercontinental U.S. title level.
Right.
Trying to build up him. So focus on those titles. You don't
So
want to
what
overdo
titles
it with titles.
What title do they have? The TNT title. They have the world title. They have
Then they have the tag title, and then I think there's a trios tag title, or there's going to be, and then the women have their title.
Right. So a trio title. That's something to touch on, right?
Yeah.
Now there hasn't been a trio title in a long time. So that's 3 belts. That's more cost. That's something to hold. But it gives 6 guys a chance to show their wrestling. And it gives guys a chance to show teamwork. If I was an agent to do these matches with a 6-man tag, I would be so creative to create different wrestling tag-ins for all 6 wrestlers. I would be like so happy to participate because my mind can go back to Memphis wrestling, to tag wrestling, to all the stuff I did as a tag, right? And all the greats I watched tagging. Now there's a 3-way tag. The stuff you could do with that is off the charts if it's done correctly. And I'm not talking about super kicks and flips and flops. I'm talking about legit wrestling moves, tag team moves. That would be
now,
good.
Vito, we're going to transition to WWE.
Okay.
Who's going to dethrone Roman Reigns, who's still the WWE Undisputed Universal Champion, whatever they're calling it? They painted themselves into the corner by letting him have the second belt, even with 2 TV shows. They did not have to do that. If they wanted him to have a long run, they could have kept him the Universal Champion, had the other title on the other show. So how do they get out of this? And who's going to dethrone Roman? Taking both titles? They got to split it up, right? If somebody takes both titles off Roman, they're still in the same boat. They don't have Fox wants their champion. USA Network wants their champion. They got to figure out a way here, Vito. How do they do it? And what do you think they do?
I am going to tell you what they should do. Nobody's going to like it, and I know you're not going to like it.
Just do it. To me, the belts have to be separated. That's what I'm saying. Okay. But go ahead.
I'm going to give you the answer you're not going to like. And this goes for all the fans, the millions. We're at 1.2 million, by the way, on Getting Color. I just wanted to put that stat out there. I got the stats in the back. Anyway, so what I want to say is this is going to be the worst thing that can happen. I see Triple H stripping him of the title to make it clean, a clean break, because you don't want to beat him. But if you strip him, then it goes into, okay, he didn't lose the title. He's still
strip them both, so they're both available.
Both titles.
Okay.
Strip them of the titles.
Okay.
And if you really want to get nasty, you strip the Usos as well. You take the titles off everybody. Say, guys, new regime. I'm the new boss. I think it's time for a change. I'm going to make new belts, new champions, new everything. You have to earn it. Now, Roman doesn't need the titles. The Usos don't need the titles. But you just created a whole shitload of angles where Triple H could send his boys in to fight Roman Reigns and the Usos and make a new Shield with Roman Reigns and the Usos to come walking down the aisle, beating the shit out of everybody in sight and everybody doing it. And then we just got breaking news. Savio Vega was rushed to the hospital in Puerto Rico. Ooh. I knew that from yesterday. No details have been given, but they know he's in the hospital and he's trying to get better. So what do you think of that? I think that the stripping of Roman Reigns, the Usos, starting fresh, saves everybody's face.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like, I think it was Vince McMahon's idea for Roman to have the Universal title for 3 years, like, very ridiculous long time. They painted
Right.
themselves in the corner when they let him also capture the WWE title. So now it would make sense. Like, how do you get the title? Like, you just have, if you beat him for one of the titles, he's still beat. Then it kind of takes the prestige down of the other title he would carry on with. So, Vito, why not? Why not have him do something where the authority doesn't like it and they take the titles off of him? And that way he doesn't lose them. And then he could say he quits and goes home. And then guess what? He's on his vacation, his part-time schedule. And if the rumors are true, 60, 70% chance, you bring him back for the feud with The Rock for WrestleMania, and you don't need the titles on the line for that, right? Because the title is the bloodline, the head of the table of the family. That's what you're playing for if that match does happen in Hollywood.
But the thing is, guys, the titles are a prop.
Yeah.
When you're over, you don't need a title. The titles are given to you to get you over. Once you're established, you don't need the title no more to be recognized as somebody significant. How much does Stone Cold have the title? Sparingly, right?
Remember when he won it finally? They took him off of it and made him chase it again. Remember something with Kane and
Undertaker. I think Undertaker was a 3-time champion.
Yeah, he didn't have it that much.
Right? And for all the champions that were there, they didn't need it. Like, okay, let's take Edge, right?
He had it a lot.
He had it a lot. You got Randy Orton. Some guys are just, in demand because they've been there for 20 years.
Now, keep in mind, during their era, there were a lot of the 2 titles, so they could just be the champion on one show. Next year, draft, go to the other show and win that major title. It was a lot easier to hold titles.
Now, the one title I would get rid of if I was Triple H and I was booking and I was part of the team, I would trash that 24/7 title, never to bring it back again, bring the TV title back to relevance. And this goes for AEW and the WWE. Make a TV title. Mm-hmm. You have tremendous talent. Miro is sitting there with nothing. It irks me.
So you officially are thinking Roman should be stripped of the titles.
Clean, because it saves his face, defends his streak. Nobody beat him. Then if he gets it back again, the streak continues for another 5 years. I never lost it this time. They stripped me, but now I have it here, so you really can't take it as a loss.
Well, and now, too, without Vince there, like, I can't believe they got to figure out what they're doing with Theory in the briefcase. That guy's not championship material at this stage.
No way. No
and
how.
So,
but didn't I say he wouldn't go for the major title? I think he'll sneak in for a lower title.
I don't think anyone's ever done that, though. It's either been for the Universal or the WWE. And the thing is, what does that contract state? So think about it. Could that be the way out of splitting the titles up? Because that contract, I don't think ever stated you go for both titles, and Roman holds both. So he would have to declare which one he cashes in on. So could that be a way? But I can't see him holding a championship, though.
No.
If he cashed in on it, I would see him being the quickest transitional champion ever. But I don't know, Vito.
7 seconds.
We'll see. That's all. That's
7 seconds. I could see him holding it. Remember when Bob Backlund had the title and Diesel came in 7 seconds, beat him at the Garden, 7 second powerbomb, bang, place goes crazy, right? When I was just reading something, the greatest night in Hulk Hogan's life, when he beat the Sheik at Madison Square Garden, is the first time he enjoyed wrestling where people were cheering, they were yelling, they were screaming, the biggest ovation you ever heard for somebody winning a title. If we could bring it back to those days where people get excited for the wrestlers to win titles, I think then you have a better chance of gaining more subscribers and more viewers, and I think wrestling would be back to where it should be.
Great show, Vito. Anything you'd like to add before we close her up?
Nah, guys, just subscribe. Wish Miss Noel some well wishes. Greatly appreciate it. Mr. Virtue has been on hiatus, and everybody's coming back to the team. It's
Mm-hmm.
just that guys, it's just like health reasons. And as you know, like me and my wife used to do, Mr. and Mrs. And she misses doing that show very much. And it's just very hard for her to just, living life right now. You know what I mean? It's difficult. But we were talking about it today, and she said, I miss podcasting with you. I know, babe. I said, we'll get back. I says, we're just one day at a time. Take your time. You know, personal lives come first, wrestling second. And just like anything else, I know everybody was interested in my wrestling and me coming back to wrestling, but I can't leave home with a clear head knowing that my wife is not doing well. So there's been some stuff where I've canceled things because of that. And I'm sorry to the people who have, who are hoping that I would come. But those promoters and everybody understand that I can't leave home. I can't leave the state of Florida knowing my wife is not doing well. So, but as far as being a ball player, I have been killing it like nobody's business.
Softball?
And pickleball.
Pickleball.
Let me tell you something, guys. I came up with something that would really shock everybody. I have been playing pickleball for 2 hours or 3 hours a day all summer long. I just went to what you call ladders, and that's where they place you, right? I
Mm-hmm.
placed very high. My goal is to play in a pro tournament. Good aspirations. I get to stay in Florida. There are a lot of tournaments here. So if I could be a pro athlete in not only wrestling, but in another sport, that is pretty cool stuff. And I am an athlete. And I could play all day. And people ask, Vito, how the hell do you have energy? All you do is go from court to court to court to court to court. You don't stop. And they said, what do you got? What is it? I said, guys. What are you talking about? It's the prune juice.
Great. Well, there you go. You might be able to see Vito in pro pickleball action at some point down in Florida.
All right, Virtue, Mr. Virtue. I'm glad everything is going good.
Yep.
Your life is back on track. Can you close the show? And thank you very much for coming, guys.
Yeah, we'll keep it short and sweet. Follow Vito on Twitter at The Big Vito Brand. Follow me if you'd like at NoDQ_Virtue. But this has been Getting Color right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. I am Virtue for Vito LaGrasso. We will see you again next time. Thanks for watching and listening.